Hello Year 3, this is the second of my tutorials and this week it's going to be all about using speech marks or inverted commas as they're sometimes called to punctuate speech. So within your writing you need to know when to use this punctuation that I'm going to show you. It's going to be part of your activities this week for SPAG, so it should help you with what you have planned this week, okay? So if we begin looking at some of the sheets that I've got ready for you this week, up on my board, this is the top part of one of the sheets you have to do, and it's showing you a speech bubble with some words in it, and then you have to show how you would punctuate it properly if you were putting it in your writing. So if I can show you my first words, if we've got hello Dan, somebody says hello Dan, where would we put our speech marks? That's really simple because we need to remember to follow the rules of the sandwich. The words that are spoken are the filling inside the sandwich, and then we put our speech marks up in the air, open them, close them, either side of the actual words spoken. So if there are two things spoken, we've got hello Dan, and then we've got a further comment, hello Dan, how are you? Then that means that we must put our closing inverted comma at the end of the words spoken. Within this phrase or this comment, you can see we've got the phrase hello Dan and the sentence how are you. Also notice that the punctuation of the sentences would continue as it normally would. So if you were just saying hello Dan, you would put a full stop. If you're saying how are you and asking a question, you would use a question mark. If you then want to perhaps report on who's saying those words, so let's say here we've got Gemma has said hello Dan, how are you? Outside of the speech marks, you would then use your reporting clause. So in this case, we've got asked Gemma. What I might do actually is not use the red pen for that. I don't know if it shows up so well. Let's write that in black. So asked Gemma. Of course, you could say wondered Gemma or inquired Gemma. There we go. We would then put a full stop after her name. So let's have a look at another example. This time we've got a new sentence. He went that way. Okay, so in this case, I need to put in my inverted commas, always at the beginning of the actual words spoken. He went that way. Notice that I always have a capital letter, so it's the usual sentence structure, capital letter at the beginning. He went that way, and then I will close with a speech mark at the end, an inverted comma at the end. He went that way, and then I'm going to add my reported clause. Replied Mike. Okay, this time the only difference between the top sentence and the second sentence, you might have noticed that there's a comma there instead of a question mark. So that's right, we would use a comma if we're using a reported clause after our speech. That's because this whole sentence is considered to be one sentence. That one sentence, which is then punctuated with a full stop at the end, that one sentence includes the words spoken and the reporting clause. The reason that's different to this one is because this sentence includes a question which must have a question mark. That's why I've put a question mark there and not a comma. The sentence, the full stop though, will always go at the end. Take a look at how I do it this time. This time I'm going to change where I put my reporting clause. So I've got same sentence, he went that way. And it's Mike speaking, only this time I'm going to put the reporting clause at the beginning of the sentence. It's still one sentence. Hopefully you can see that because I have one full stop which is right at the end. Only this time I wouldn't put it after my reporting clause. My reporting clause, comma, then introduces the actual words spoken. Those have my speech marks in place already. And you need to notice as well that full stop is inside the speech mark. So the punctuation for the speech always goes inside the speech mark. Okay, let's extend that a bit further. Similar sentence again. We've got he went that way. Again, we start with our capital letter. We always start with the capital letter inside a speech mark. Always, always. He went that way. through the trees and up into the field. Here's the next bit that I want to say. Through the trees and up into the field. Only this time I'm going to interrupt that sentence. One sentence. You can see it's one sentence because I've got one full stop at the end. He went that way through the trees and up into the field. I'm going to interrupt it with a reported clause. He went that way, replied Mike, through the trees and up into the field. The same rules as before. Capital letter at the beginning, open your speech mark, close your speech mark after the punctuation. These are the words spoken. The reporting clause is outside of the speech marks. Then we have our second set of speech marks to sandwich the rest of the sentence that is spoken. So the actual words spoken are he went that way, through the trees and up into the field. And you can see we've got two sets of speech marks. They are either side of the reporting clause. It would not be the case if the reporting clause was at the end of the sentence. I would then have just needed to use one set of speech marks and put my reporting clause at the end.